I'm on the porch of College Hall, and College Hall is scheduled to be renovated this year, and we're really excited about that. It is one of the original buildings on the campus. It will be 100 years old in 2012, so it's long overdue for a major renovation. And it seemed appropriate that I use this place to have my conversation with Russ Willis. He is our Vice President for Administrative Affairs, and his duties include taking care and looking out for all of the facilities on campus and finding the funding and the finances to make everything happen. Looking back on the past academic year, what do you consider our best accomplishments, our biggest accomplishments?
Well, as you well know, it has been a difficult couple years for us financially because there's been a decrease in state appropriations. Then, of course, we had the economic fallout, so we had a convergence of things. Our mantra, though, has been to prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and that's exactly what we did this past year. And we did a really meaningful review of all of our academic programs and all of our administrative programs. And what our goal was, and we got campus input, we had a lot of input from a lot of different people, but our goal was to look for efficiencies in any place that we could cut so that we would prepare ourselves for what could possibly happen in FY12. And I think we did that in a really meaningful and wonderful way. It was tough, no doubt about it, but I think we came out of it really well.
Can you explain the different components of the budget, tuition and what comes from the state and what we get from other sources?
The greatest news about our budget for FY12, and FY12 is the year that began July 1st, 2011, will end June 30th, 2012, but the greatest news for us is that our state appropriation decrease was only 1%. We had been preparing for much worse this whole past year, so that was really good news. We're very grateful to the governor and the legislature for everything they did to ensure that. Our budget, our operating budget, is really made up of two main funds. One is called the Educational and General Fund, and we shorthand that as the E&G, and then we have a fund called Auxiliaries. But E&G is made up of primarily of student tuition dollars and then state appropriations. Our auxiliary funds are really self-generating departments. They are departments or areas on the university's campus that brings in their own revenue. Some examples of our auxiliaries include our residence life, clinic, our student rec center, and athletics. And collectively, our auxiliary fund is about $61 million. Our educational and general fund totals about $190 million. So those two main funds together total about $251 million. So that's the number that we give out as our main operating budget here at the university.
One of the things people often ask, and it's really confusing to people, is they see us building buildings, they see us renovating buildings, and they'll say, how can you afford to do that when you're having to cut programs or you're having to cut other budgets? So could you maybe
Sure, and those are
good way explain that?
Good legitimate questions. I think a kind of an easy way to explain it is that we have different buckets of money, and those buckets have restrictions. And our capital improvements are when we renovate buildings like College Hall. Typically, we go through a bond process, and bond is just a financial instrument where governments can get money so they can finance projects.
The government borrows the money for us.
Absolutely. Very simply, the government goes out and borrows the money. And there are two types of bonds. One is called a general obligation bond, and the state of Mississippi issues the general obligation bonds. The University of Southern Mississippi is not obligated to pay those back. Those are paid back by the taxpayers of Mississippi. College Hall, for example, is a general obligation bond, the renovation for this building. Our College of Business, which is a huge priority for us, that went through a general obligation bond. There is also a bond called a general revenue bond. And a general revenue bond actually is issued by the University of Southern Mississippi. We have a separate legal entity called the Southern Miss Educational Building Corporation. And those bonds are tied to a specific project that have a revenue stream. And the best example of that is Century Park. And that's our most recent project where we issued bonds through the SMEBC.
We've been examining ways that we can redistribute and allocate our internal budget. What kind of an impact is that going to have on the university in the future?
Absolutely. Of course, we've had to be very creative and really think outside the box. And there's really two things that we've done to position ourselves. One is we did offer a retirement incentive this year. And what that does is it frees up dollars for us to use and to allocate to our strategic priorities. So that's one thing we did. And the second thing we're looking at is a different budget model called Responsibility Centered Management, or RCM. And that's really a decentralized budget model. In very simplistic terms, it allows our academic colleges to keep its revenues, but it's also responsible for both its direct cost and its indirect costs. And that's a very different way of budgeting than what we do now, which is what we call incremental budgeting, which is what most universities do. But the theory and the goal behind this is that it incentivizes departments and colleges to grow their students, to offer programs that students want, and cost containment. So it really does put the burden on them to manage their resources in the most effective way possible to provide the best student experience.
Looking forward, what are some of the budget challenges we need to be prepared for? The economy is not all that vital these days, and we're not out of the woods yet. What do we need to be thinking about?
Absolutely. While we are in a better position than we ever thought we would be a year ago from today, things are still not great economically, so we can't be too complacent. We have to be wise, good stewards with every dollar that we get from the state, and we have to be creative on how we spend our own money, and that is to find every efficiency possible, to grow the programs that students want. And I think the value of a Southern Miss degree is unbelievable, and what we do with our dollars here really does impact what our students do.
Russ Willis, Vice President for Administrative Affairs at Southern Miss.